Hello, my name is Mark, and today I'm going to be going over a sample practice test. If you are new here, that's great, because this one hopefully is going to be a short video. It only consists of 10 math questions as well as 3 reading comprehension questions. I designed this test to make you confident, a good starting place for you so you can expand your knowledge into the full-length algebra and functions practice tests, both practice test 1 and 2, as well as the continuing education portions. Before I begin, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed, and check out all my other videos, the whole course, as well as all my gaming stuff. All of this information is free and should be free. If you know anything about this channel, I am doing my best. My mission is to break the paywall, to make all test prep free. Let me pray for you guys, for the people who are taking the tests in like a few days. Father God, I pray that the people watching this video pass their tests, that with the Holy Spirit, you guide them to the right study material. You give them discernment to study the right things, and then you just give them confidence and strength to study and to memorize all of the topics to pass their tests. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, let's just get it started. Sample practice test, algebra and functions, and reading comprehension. Practice test number 1. This is the sample practice test. This is a sample practice test designed to give you one realistic question from each major topic you should expect on the algebra and functions and reading comprehension sections. That was in my notes. Okay. Algebra and functions.
Let's begin.
Question number 1. What is the next number in the series? We have -1, -3, 4, 12, and 19. So the first thing that I would do is write down the numbers. Write down the numbers in the series that we do know, right? And then I would figure out what's going on in between the numbers. And I like to put these arrows here. And then what's going on here? -1 to -3. Well, it looks like we are going up by +2. And then -3 to 4. Well, -3 to 0 is 3, 0 to 4 is 4, and then 3 plus 4 is 7, so we go up +7. 4 to 12, that is +8. And then 12 to 19, it looks like we are going up +7. And if we look at the numbers here, looks like there's no relation except for there's a +7 here and a +7 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase these two and see what else I could put here. And in this case, we have -1 to -3. Well, what can I do to get here to -3? And that is to multiply, right? Multiply. I'll put it like, no, I won't do that. I will do the x. Multiply by 3, right? Because -1 times -3, or I'm sorry, getting ahead of myself there. -1 times 3 equals -3. Oh my gosh, we're doing great. 4 times what equals 12? And that is +3. And it looks like we got our pattern established. So +3, and that is times 3 plus 7 times 3 plus 7. Well, the next operation in the sequence, in the series, is times 3. So what is 19 times 3? Let's just do that math right here. 19 times 3. And 9 times 3 is what? We should know our times tables. If you do not, let me know and I will make a video of easy math. But you should know it. 9 times 3 is 27, losers. Okay. 3 times 1 equals what? 3. Plus 2 is 5. 57. So that is the next number in our series, and that is C, folks. So let's go ahead and get to the part where you're going to screenshot. You're going to love this part because I made this specifically for you. So you don't have to deal with my messy handwriting. And my handwriting's not messy in person, okay? It's actually really neat. Okay, send to the back. And here you go. Step 1, look for a pattern between terms. So that's what we did. We wrote the transitions. We identified the operation using trial and error. You will mess up several times, but with messing up, you know that that's not the answer and you could continue going forward, and that's what we did. And we found out that the operations were multiply by 3 plus 7, multiply by 3, and plus 7. And then we apply the same rule to the last number, which is 19. 19 times 3 equals 57. So the pro tip here is write the transitions. When you are taking the test, you will have the computer screen right in front of you. And then you will have scratch paper. I do not have scratch paper with me, but you will have scratch paper. And you're going to just quickly write down the transitions because that timer is going down and you're just like uber super stressed. All right. Did I miss anything here? This is a number series question. And let's just go ahead and go on to question number 2. Question number 2. Simplify the following expression. So in this case, in this expression, all we're going to do is simplify to the lowest terms. And do you remember PEMDAS? Okay, I've done this and said this so many times, but PEMDAS. Okay, PEMDAS. Have some fun, guys, okay? Math is fun. It's fun. PEMDAS. PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, Marky F baby, das, ass, something. Subscribe. Okay. PEMDAS just stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. With the P, we look at the parentheses first. So in this case, we are going to be looking at this section here. We're going to be paying attention to that. Next, we're going to be dealing with the exponents, these right here. And then after that, we do the multiplication and division, which we really don't have. And then addition, subtraction, and that's the last operations that we will have to perform. So let's go ahead and do it, okay? So let's just go ahead and start with this parentheses over here, okay? The brackets, actually. The brackets have 1, and then 2, and then 3 in there. So all this means is 2 times 3, okay? Anytime you see the bracket and a number or a coefficient, this is a coefficient and a number, you multiply, okay? So in this case, it would be 1 over 2 times 3 is 6, okay? And then we're just going to go ahead and bring this -6 in the mix. And then we have to multiply, right? Because this bracket serves as just like another parentheses, okay? Don't get all like weirded out when you see a bracket. A bracket is just a parentheses. And then we multiply again, just like you know it, okay? -6 times 1 is -6. And we write it like this, -6 over 6. And all this equals is -1. So this whole thing over here is just -1, okay? Now let's go ahead and deal with the 5 squared and the 4 squared. 5 squared equals what? Well, it's just 5 times 5, equaling 25. And then 4 squared equals 4 times 4, which just equals 16, okay? These right here, which are called perfect squares.
You need to know this.
All right. Looks like we're doing really good, guys. So let's just write down the equation all over again. So I'm just going to start it right here. 25 plus 3x minus 1, because remember, this whole thing is -1, plus 16, plus 16 minus 3x. And do you see anything that we could cancel out? Anything at all that we could cancel out. While I'm erasing this, you have all that time. Oh, it's done. Okay, you could cancel out this, okay. Plus 3x and minus 3x. Boom, boom, shabam. Now we're left with 25 minus 1 plus 16. And this is the hardest operations you will have to deal with. 25 minus 1, oh my god. Oh my gosh. What is it? Is it 20? Is it 22? No, it's 24, fools. Okay. Plus 16. Oh, we might have to stack it up and figure it out. 4 plus 6 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. We found out the answer. It's D. All right. Let's see if we got this right. All right. Let's see if we did it correctly. Let's see if I'm a good teacher. All right. Let's just send this bad boy to the back. Bam. Okay. Step 1. Start with the original expression. 5 squared plus 3x minus 6 times 1 over 2 times 3, that's all bracketed, plus 4 squared minus 3x. Simplify the fraction inside the parentheses, just like we did. Start with the parentheses. We have 1 over 2 times 3. Perform the multiplication in the denominator, which is 2 times 3, equaling 6, and the fraction becomes 1 over 6. Simplify the square powers. Okay, and in this case, we didn't bring over the negative 6 yet, okay? We didn't do that yet, but we will do that in step 4. It doesn't matter, sometimes it really doesn't matter when you do these things, right? Like, let's say we did the exponent 25. Like, this won't affect anything that we do here. So you could just do these exponents really quick, 25 and 16. But I would follow PEMDAS, okay, if you're lost. Only do what I said previously to do if you know what you're doing. Okay. Simplify the square powers. So you have 5 squared equals 25, and then 4 squared equaling 16. Then you multiply the negative 6 by the fraction. Again, remember, negative 6, and then there's that bracket again. But in this case, we didn't do that. So we have negative 6 times 1 over 6. And then when we multiply, all right, it's like this, okay, times 1 over 6. So it actually looks something like this when you multiply these fractions, okay? 1 over 6. And then you just multiply across. And then you get negative 6 over 6. And that just equals negative 1, okay? That's what's happening. And then we get that negative 1, and the expression becomes 25 plus 3x minus 1 plus 16 minus 3x. Then we cancel out the variables, okay? The minus 3x and the plus 3x. And just by looking at this too, those can already just be canceled. We could have canceled them out from the get-go, okay? And then what we're left with are just whole, nice-looking numbers. 25 minus 1 plus 16 equaling 40. And our answer is D. Any questions? It's so easy. It's so easy, guys. Easy. Easy. So simple. My calculus teacher used to do a whole problem, like write a whole problem out and everything. All right, this is calculus. I was like 19 in college. He would finish doing this whole calculation, and then he would go, so simple. It was not simple. It was never simple. I got a D minus or a D plus the first time I took Calculus 1. My gosh. Okay. Story time done. Question number 3. Okay. Expand and simplify. All right. This one. All right. We have 2x minus 3 and then x plus 5, and they're two binomials. All we're going to do is FOIL. Okay. FOIL just means we're going to multiply all this with this. All right. The acronym is first out in last, but I hate saying that. I just hate it. Just multiply this with this. All right. And what I mean is when you have these two binomials, you're going to have 4 operations. All right. So this is what it means with first out in last. You're going to multiply this with this. And then you're going to multiply that same number with this number. And you're going to multiply this term with this. And then you're going to multiply this term again by this. So there's going to be 4 operations. Let's do those fast. 2x times x equals, what does that equal? 2x squared. Okay? Then we have 2x times 5 equals 10x. Easy. So simple. Minus 3x. Minus 3 times x equals negative 3x. And lastly, we have negative 3 times 5 equals negative 15. All right, so let's just look at all our terms here, right? Can we combine anything? Yes, we can. You are a genius. You figured it out. Let's use this rainbow color because you are awesome and colorful. Man, there's something wrong with me. Okay, so we have 2x squared, and that cannot be combined with anything. So we're just going to put that here, 2x squared. These can be combined because they have the same x terms. And what is 10x minus 3x? That equals positive 7x. And then we have this right here, just negative 15, this lonely negative 15, and that's it. That's all we have. And there you have it. 2x squared plus 7x minus 15 is the simplified, is this simplified? Yeah. And the correct answer is, let's see, it's B. All right. Let's see what we have behind the square. All right, here we go. Start with the original expression, 2x minus 3 and x plus 5. Multiply each term in the first parenthesis by each term in the second parenthesis. And then you have these 4 operations. 2x times x equals 2x squared. 2x times 5 equals 10x. Minus 3 times x equals negative 3x. And negative 3 times 5 equals negative 15. Now we have 2x squared plus 10x minus 3x minus 15. And that's what we had here, just scattered all over the place. And we combine like terms and we get this answer over here, and that is B. We are correct. I am correct. And guys, make sure you are screenshotting this for you guys to do it later, because you need to put in more reps. It's really not about how hard the problem is, because I could make a problem super freaking complicated. What matters is you get a firm foundation on these mathematical concepts, so when they do give you a problem, you won't get tripped up. Question number 4. Factor the following expression. These are my favorite. You could save a lot of time with this one. So we have x squared plus 9x plus 20. We are doing the reverse of question number 3. And this time we are just going to figure out the factors, right, of this trinomial. Okay? So all we have to do is first let us look at this term right here. This is called C. So this right here is the bare bones of this right here is a squared. A is actually it's actually a x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, where in this case c equals 20, and then b equals 9, and a equals 1. Okay. Why is this important? Because if we are not able to factor this out cleanly, we could use the quadratic equation or quadratic formula. But in this case, it can be factored out cleanly. So the question to ask yourself when you encounter this problem is, what 2 numbers can be multiplied together to equal 20, and those same 2 numbers combined equaling 9, right? So it is what two numbers equals C, or multiplied together equals C, and when combined equals B. Okay, so we start listing down terms, right? Terms that could work. So let's just write them down, right? 20 times 1, right? This equals 20, but then when combined equals 21. That does not equal 9, okay? Let's try 10 times 2 equals 20, right? And then when combined equals 12, which does not equal 9. So let's try, okay? Let's try 4 times 5. I don't even know what's funny, okay? I don't know what's funny. You're funny. You are funny. You're funny. 4 times 5 equals 20. Well, 4 plus 5 equals 9. Looks like we found it. Okay. And then all you would do is get these right here. And then you would just rewrite it like this. That's it. And then you're done. That's the answer. So it's A. Boom. Shada boom, shada bang, bang, boom. And then let's erase everything. Okay. Bam, shabam. Bring to the back. Okay. Step 1, start with the original expression, x squared plus 9x plus 20. Focus on the last number. The last number is 20, and we need two numbers that multiply to 20. Write down the possible factors. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Check which pair combined makes the middle number, which is B. 1 plus 20 equals 21. That does not equal 9. 2 plus 1 equals 12. What the heck? I meant to put 10 plus 2 equals 12. And that does not equal 9, so who cares? And then 4 plus 5 equals 9. So that one's it right there. And then write the factored form. All you do is get these two numbers, add them by the x plus 4 and x plus 5, and that's it. You got the answer. The pro tip here is know this. Know the bare bones. Ax squared plus bx plus c, where you need to identify what two numbers multiplied together equals c, and when combined equals b. And you will need to know a later on, and we will go over a question later in this video. Okay. Have you screenshotted this? You better have. I'm going fast. Boom, 5. Okay. Solve for M. All we're doing here is more PEMDAS and order of operations. Specifically, solving for variable, which is M. You're going to be going over, or I'm going to be going over, distribution, combining like terms, moving variables, and then isolating M. So we have 3, 2m minus 4 plus 5 equals 2m plus 17. So what is the first thing that we should do? Well, what we should do is distribute this 3, okay? Because there's nothing we could do in this parentheses. There's no like terms. So distributing that 3 into that parentheses, we have 6m minus 12, and then I want to just parentheses this again, just keep it. And then we have this on the left side. And then I'm going to get rid of the parentheses now. And then we have minus 12 plus 5. So what can we do here to simplify further? We could just combine these two. And this will give us 6m minus 7. And then we look at the right side, and there's nothing we could combine. So our equation, right, because we're solving for something, is 6m minus 7 equals 2m plus 17. Now what we do is isolate for m. So all I would do here is plus 7. We have 6m equals 2m plus, that is 24. And then I would minus 2m, and then I would get 4m equals 24, and then I would divide by 4, and then we get m equals 6. and boom, shebang, it's D, good to go. All right, and let's see if we got that right. And I better have gotten that right, because if not, I'm an idiot. And I'm not an idiot. You're an idiot. Just kidding. Okay, let's go reveal what we have behind the square. Step 1, start with the original expression. And then we have it right here. Simplify the left side by distributing the 3. All right, 3 times 2m equals 6m. 3 times -4 equals -12. The equation now becomes 6m minus 12 plus 5 equals 2m plus 17. Combine like terms, we start with the left side, and then we get -12 plus 5 equals -7. Then we go with the left side, or the left side now becomes 6m minus 7. Then we do the right side, and nothing can be done on the right side. And we're just left with 2m plus 17. So now the full equation is 6m minus 7 equals 2m plus 17. We isolate now for, I put x, isolate for m, for Marky F baby. And then we add 7 to both sides, right? Then we get 6m equals 2m plus 24. Subtract 2x from both sides, and we get, oh my gosh, I put an x there again. I need to spell check myself better. Then we subtract 2m from both sides, and we get 4m equals 24. Divide by 4 from both sides, giving us m equaling 6, which is D. And we are good to go. We are halfway done with the math portion. Let's go on to 6. Okay, evaluate the expression. Now this looks tricky, right? This looks nasty, but it's not. Okay, it's really not. All you need to do is, number 1, plug in this x equals 7 to this y equals 5x minus 5 over 6. That's what you would do first. So we can get y, right? Because if we plugged in y equals 5x minus 5 over 6 into this, we would be able to solve whatever this is. But we have to make our lives easier. Why would we want to make things harder for us? So let's go ahead and put this right here like this. 5x, but it's a 7 minus 5 over 6. And then y equals, what is 5 times 7? That is 35 minus 5 over 6. And then we get y equals 30 over 6. And then y equals 5. So now we have y equals 5. All right. Now let's just plug in x and y in our expression here and solve or evaluate. So look at here. We have 3x minus 3, and we have 3x minus 3 here again. Okay. And then we have 2y plus 2 and 2y plus 2 again. So they're the same. So what I would do is just do this. What I would do is go 3, 7 minus 3 equals, and then I would do 2y, dang it, 2, 5 plus 2. And then I would go, this is 21 minus 3 is 18. And then 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. All right. So just substitute these numbers in this expression. So I would get 18, right, over 12 plus 12 over 18. All right. Now let's go ahead and find the greatest common factor between these numbers. All that means is what could go inside both these numbers. The greatest number that can go in both these numbers. And in this case, it's 6. Okay. So what I'm doing here is 18 over 12, and the greatest common factor is 6. So I would divide by 6 and divide by 6 because we are simplifying. Okay. You always have to simplify your fractions. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. And then this is the opposite. Okay. Because 12 divided by 6 equals 2. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3. So then the whole equation now becomes, okay, it becomes 3 over 2 plus, okay, plus, what does it become? 2 over 3. Okay. What we can do is we could add the fractions together. Then what I would have to do is change these to 6. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. What is 3 divided by 2? You should know this. Okay, you will need to know this. These easy ones, these easy fractions. That's 1.5. Okay, what is 2 over 3? That equals 0.666 forever. The devil's number. Evil. And then add those together. And I would actually go like 1.5 and then, so I would do this 1.5 and then 0.666 and just use 3 sixes. Okay, plus, and I would bring everything down like this, and then 5 plus 6 equals 11. Carry the 1 over, and then remember to put that decimal point, and then 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then what I would do here is round up to the third decimal point, because this would go on forever to infinity. So this goes 2.16, and the third one is 7. And that's our final answer right there. It's D. Okay, perfect. Let's see if I got that right. I hope you are tracking. I know I am going fast, but I want you to, I'm not even going that fast. I'm not even going that fast. Am I going that fast? If I am, let me know. Okay. So we said the answer is D, and let's go ahead and reveal the steps. So, okay, step 1, solve for y by plugging in x equals 7. And that's what we did. And then we got y equaling 5, right? Now we have x equals 7 and y equaling 5. Let me just write that down again over there. Okay. Plug in the x and y values. And then exactly what I did, I got this 3x minus 3 from here and 2y plus 2 from here, because these are the same. And now we have 18 and 12 respectively. And then we have 18 over 12 plus 12 over 18. We reduce the fraction in step 3. And then 18 over 12, we get 3 over 2, which equals 1.5. And then 12 over 18 equals 2 over 3. It's just the reverse of the first fraction. And then we get 0.666666666. Then we add 1.5 plus 0.66666. We get 2.16666. Round to 3 decimal points. It's just a rule. It's just a rule that I wouldn't do it. I don't care. But it's the rule that the mathematical people wrote down as law. 3 decimal points. But sometimes, they're going to be like rounded up to 5 decimal points. And then you would have to figure that out. But that's for another video. Rounded to 3 decimal points, we get 2.167. And the pro tip here is when reducing fractions, find the greatest common factor. What is the greatest number that could go into both numbers in the fraction? Okay? Are you tracking? You better be, because here we go to question number 7. Oh man, that's a lot of words. Too bad you have to read them. I'm funny. Okay, a linear function is defined as follows. Y is equal to -2 times x plus a constant of 6. Which statement best describes the graph of this function? And then we have all this. The graph rises from left to right and crosses the y-axis at -6. The graph falls from left to right and crosses the y-axis at -6. The graph rises from left to right and crosses the y-axis at 6. And we have the graph falls from left to right and crosses the y-axis at 6. So why did I read all that? To torture you, that's why. I'm just kidding. I read all of that because I wanted you to identify what's going on when I say rises from left to right and falls from left to right. Okay, so we have a graph here. So when we rise from left to right, this is a positive slope. okay? When we fall from left to right, this is a negative slope. Hooray! You know slopes now. You are smart. Now you can answer all questions with no error. Okay. But first, the first thing we have to do is we have to make this word equation into y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and do that. Y is equal to negative 2 times x, and I'm going to actually make this like a dot because I have to use an x, okay? X plus 6. And there we have it. We have our equation. Let's just go ahead and combine it a little. We just put it together a little bit better. Negative 2x, right? Plus 6. And that's our equation right here. Y equals negative 2x plus 6. So in this case, I want you to know what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So simple. Okay, y equals mx plus b. Okay, where m equals slope and b equals the y-intercept. Okay, so in this case, what is the slope? The slope is negative 2. So simple. And we have the b, that is our y-intercept, and that is 6. So we have the graph rises from left to right. Well, it rises, right? So no, that's a positive slope. That's not our answer. And the y-axis at negative 6, we have 6, just positive 6, positive 6, okay? And then we have b, the graph falls from left to right and crosses the y-axis at negative 6. Well, falls is partially correct, but the y-axis is at negative 6. So get that out because our y-axis is at positive 6. Then we have the graph rises from left to right. Well, it rises, so we could automatically just get rid of that. And the graph falls from left to right, yes, and crosses at positive 6. Yay! Hooray! Throw in the fireworks when I edit here because we found the answer and it is D. So let's go ahead and see if this is actually the correct answer. D is the correct answer, the correct and final answer. We're putting all our chips on D. Okay, rewrite the function as an equation, right? This is where people get tripped up when they see this in word format, okay? When they see an equation in word format. But don't worry, your boy got you, okay? Y is equal to negative 2 times x plus a constant of 6. Just write it down, right? Y is equal, okay, y equal negative 2 times x, okay, plus 6. Like it's just literal, okay? Identify the slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b, like I said. Then m equals the slope and b equals the y-intercept. In this case, m equals negative 2x, or just negative 2. We start with the slope, and then we start with the y-intercept, and then b equals 6. So that just means that we have a slope of negative 2, and the slope, a negative slope goes from left to right. It falls down left to right. And then the y-intercept just means that's the point of the graph where the y-intercept is crossed. So in this case, it's like 6. So it's like right there, like that. That's what the graph would look like. Okay, that's it. D is the answer. All right, moving on. Question number 8. Oh, these are so fun. This is a long one. Check this out. Look at this. I'm just going to show you really quick. Like, bam! Oh, 12 font. Oh, disgusting. Okay. Now we're going to bring that back to the front. Okay. The relationship between x and y is shown below. 4x equals 8y plus 24. Which of the following statements is true for this formula? A lot of people get tripped up right here. Even I, to this day, get tripped up right here, especially when they add a third variable. But in this case, we're only going to work with 2 variables. And the first thing that I would do here is I would isolate one of the variables. In this case, I would isolate the x. So what I would do is divide everything by 4, okay? And then you get x equals 2y plus 6, right? Because 8y divided by 4 is 2y. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. And then 4 divided by 4 just equals 1. and then I don't show it there because we never do that in math, and then it just leaves us with an x. X equals 2y plus 6, okay? Now, we just have to test numbers. And it's not really like a rule of how to test, but the pro tip here is just test easy numbers, okay? So let's just start with A. When the value of y is less than -3, x is positive. So when the value of y is less than -3. So I'm going to choose a value less than -3, which is -4. Okay, I'm not going to choose like -35, okay? I'm going to choose an easy number. So I am going to choose -4 as my y, and I'm going to plug it in. X equals 2, I'm going to say -4 plus 6, and then x equals -8 plus 6, x equals -2. And that is not positive. And how I would write this is x is, in this case, it's x is -2. So that's what it would look like. X is negative, and it's not positive, okay? So in this case, this is wrong. This is wrong because we got a negative number, okay? So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. When the value of x is less than 6, now it's asking x, but I'm actually going to stick with my y. So I'm going to now go with answer choice D. When the value of y is greater than -3, x is positive. So instead of -4 being less than -3, I'm going to choose -2 because -2 is greater than -3. Okay, so I go x equals 2, -2 plus 6, and I get x equals -4 plus 6, and then I have x equals, what is -4 plus 6? And that is 2. And that is positive. And then that is written like this. Okay? Save that for later, for another video. Okay? I'm not going to explain that, but that's what x greater than 0 equals positive, and x less than 0 equals negative. Okay? And this is actually right. We got a positive number. Okay? So I'm going to go with D being the right answer. But let's go ahead and test these ones out. Okay? So when the value of x is less than 6, y is positive. Now we are going to plug in a number for x instead of y. Okay? So x is less than 6. So a number less than 6 is actually 0. Okay? So I'm going to go 0 equals 2y plus 6. And then I have, I'm going to minus 6, negative 6 equals 2y, divide by 2, and I get -3 equals y, or just y equals -3. And that is not positive. So I could rule that out. This is actually our cutoff, which I will explain in further videos. So that's why that is wrong. We yielded a negative number when the answer choice wanted us to yield a positive number. So let's go ahead. When the value of x is greater than 8, y is negative. So I'm going to choose 10 equals 2y plus 6. I'm going to go minus 6, 4 equals 2y, and then divide by 2, and I get y equaling 2. And is that a negative number? No, not a negative number. So C is incorrect. So we chose D, and let's just see if we are correct, if I am correct. Okay, let's do this. Bam, bam, send to the back. Okay, first we solve for x. Step 1, 4x equals 8y plus 24. Divide everything by 4, we get x equals 2y plus 6. Then step 2 is test each answer choice by choosing easy numbers. Because the pro tip here says choose easy numbers when testing each statement. Do not choose hard numbers, okay? Let's choose y equals -4 for choice A, because that is less than -3. So we get x equals 2, -4 plus 6, and then we get x equals -2. This number is not positive. That is false. Answer choice B, just like I said, all this I'm just repeating myself, okay? And right here, I'm just going to go to answer choice D. Let's choose y equals -2 because that is greater than -3. X equals 2 times negative 2 plus 6, and then we get 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, carry down the 6, and then we get X equals 2 when we combine these two together, and this number is positive. True. D is the correct answer. Okay. This is one of the trickier questions that you will encounter, but you will be armed and ready to solve these. Okay, because you studied with Marky F. Baby. And I do have many videos going over this. I have a specific video going over this where you could solve it by using a graph, by graphing, and solving by figuring out the cutoff, and solving it by just plugging in numbers like we did here. Okay, it's all about knowing what numbers to plug in and just isolating a variable so you can plug in numbers. Okay, screenshot this and save it for your records. Question number 9. Solve the systems of equations. These are my favorite. Okay, what is the value of X? So all I would do here, this one's an easy one. Okay, and let's say I'm on the computer and taking the test and I just write everything down again. So I have 3x plus 2y equals 19. And then I have 5x minus 2y equals 21. First thing I would do here is combine, okay? I would combine the plus 2y and the negative 2y, and they cancel out. And I'm left with 8x equals, what is 19 plus 21? That is 40, okay? Is that 40? Yeah, that is 40. And this is 3x plus 5x, that's combined, and we have 8x equals 40. Divide by 8, and then we have x equals 5. And that is our answer. Our answer choice is D. Wow, every answer seems like it's D. It's okay, because usually every answer is like B and C. So D is my C, B, and whatever. Okay, so we have x equaling 5. And the next step that what problems usually do is they ask for x and y. So all you have to do to find y is plug in x into one of these equations, and that's it. Then you isolate and find y. But in this case, all you need to do is find for x, solve for x. So let's go ahead and look at the answer choices here. Okay. Send to the back. Okay, step 1, cancel out one of the variables like we did. We got the plus 2y and the negative 2y. These are opposites, so they can cancel. Okay? And then we combine the equations together. We have 3x plus 5x, like we did here. And then we add the y terms, okay? And then those cancel out. And then we add the numbers to the right after the equal sign, and we get 40. And then our fully simplified equation becomes 8x equals 40. And we just divide by 5. Or divide by 8, I'm sorry. And then we get x equaling 5. And D as our answer. Cancel out one variable, okay? This one's an easy one, all right? There are going to be harder ones, and I do have videos going over harder ones. So go ahead and click those in the description below or the card above, whatever I decide to do when I edit this video. Okay, solve the equation. So this is just like the factoring question that we went over, okay? Except this step, or this has an extra step, which is we just set the binomials to 0, and then we solve for x. That's all we do, okay? So remember what I said about a squared, or ax squared plus bx plus c? Well, we're doing that again, okay? So what two numbers multiplied together equals 10, and then what those same two numbers equals b, which is negative 7, okay? So let's go ahead and write everything down again. 10 times 1, okay? And then we have 5 times 2. And then, well, what is a negative times a negative? That's a positive. So we could actually do negative 5 times negative 2. Right? And that equals this one equals a negative 7 when we add these together. When we add these together, it's a positive 7. And when we add these together, it's 11. Okay? I know I put the multiplication there, but who cares? All right? And I just want to show you that these two are the ones that we're going to be working with. Okay. The next step, or when we just factor, simply just factoring, we go x minus 5, and then we have x minus 2. Okay. But we want to solve because we have this equals 0. So we set this to equal to 0. And then there's this rule or whatever. I forgot what the rule is called. And then we just separately solve, right? Solve each binomial equals 0. And then we would plus 5, and then we get x equals 5. And the next one is x minus 2 equals 0. And then plus 2, and then we get x equals 2. So that's our answer. X equals positive 2 and x equals positive 5, which is C. Okay? You tracking? That one, easy. Okay? The alternative, okay, if you don't have a clean factorization, is to use the quadratic formula. Again, I have a full video on the quadratic formula, and I do go over them in other videos too as well. So I will not go over the quadratic formula here. Okay? This is just to give you a taste, a sample of what you will go through when taking the math portion of the IBEW Algebra and Functions test. Okay? So let's just go ahead and see what we got here. We said the answer was C, and let me just move this to the back. Here we go. Step 1, start with the original equation, okay? Focus on the last number, and it's 10. Write down the possible factors, okay? And then we check when combined together equals B, and we said it's -2 and -5 equals -7. Now we write the factor forms down, and then we get x minus 2 and x minus 5. And then again, we have to set everything to 0, and then we could just set each binomial to 0 and then solve to get 2 solutions. Anytime you're dealing with these type of questions or these binomials, you'll always have 2 solutions, right? Because this is actually a parabola, and it's crossing at these 2 points or something like that. That's what's really happening. Okay, I won't go over that. So solve with the quadratic formula when the quadratic does not factor cleanly. That is the pro tip. Okay, that concludes the math portion of the test, of this sample practice test. I hope that you did well, and I hope that you were able to grasp the fundamentals. If you want continuing education, I will have videos linked down below for each question type. Okay? All right, let's move on to the reading comprehension portion of this sample practice test. All right, reading comprehension. This one is easy, guys.
Super easy.
Okay. Let us read this passage. Okay. Fatal Frame 2. I'm not advertising my other gaming videos on my channel. This is just a passage about Fatal Frame 2. That's about scary games, okay? That's it. Let's read it. Fatal Frame 2 is often remembered as one of the scariest horror games because it understands a simple idea. Fear becomes stronger when the player feels helpless. The most frightening horror games are not always the ones with the loudest jump scares, the darkest hallways, or the most grotesque monsters. Often, the deepest fear comes from limiting what the player can do. A powerful character can fight back, run quickly, or overpower whatever appears in front of them. A helpless character cannot. Instead, the player is forced to move carefully, listen closely, and make decisions under pressure. This kind of fear is psychological because it does not come only from what is shown on the screen. It comes from what the player imagines might happen next. Limited weapons, slow movement, narrow spaces, and unclear sounds all work together to create uncertainty. Even when the player has some way to defend themselves, the defense may feel weak, temporary, or risky. That imbalance makes every encounter feel dangerous. In this way, helplessness does not simply make a horror game harder. It makes the player feel exposed. The player is not just trying to win. They are trying to survive long enough to understand what is happening. This is why some older horror games remain effective despite outdated graphics. Their fear does not depend entirely on visual realism. It depends on vulnerability, anticipation, and the uncomfortable feeling that the player is never fully in control. So, why don't you guys go ahead and just watch my gaming videos on Fatal Frame 2. Okay, let's just go ahead and start with question 11. Which of the following best summarizes the passage? Okay, let's read the answer choices. Horror games are usually scary because they use dark environments and sudden jump scares. I don't know if that was the best summary of this right here. Horror games are most effective when players are given strong weapons and clear objectives. This was said, right? This was said here. A powerful character can fight back, run quickly, or overpower whatever appears in front of them. However, that wasn't the best summary of the whole passage. Horror games can create deeper fear by making players feel vulnerable, limited, and uncertain. And that is word for word somewhere here in the passage, right? And I'm going to go with C. I'm going to go with C on this one, okay? And then older horror games are scarier than modern horror games because their graphics are less realistic. And this one is the worst choice out of all of them. And this one right here, because I believe it's word for word somewhere. It says here, limited weapons, slow movement, narrow spaces, and unclear sounds all work together to create uncertainty. Okay, and this is just one part of the answer choice. And somewhere here, it does talk about the players feeling vulnerable. And then like limited movement, limited weapons, and stuff like that. That's somewhere here in the meat of the passage too as well. So we're looking for the main idea. We're looking for the best summary of everything that's going on. And that answer choice here is C. Okay, and I already have the answer choices, so it doesn't matter. Okay, I have the answer rubric. I have it all. Okay, so. Is it called the answer rubric? It's not the answer rubric. It's the answer key. I have the answer key. Okay. Question 12. Based on the passage, what can be inferred? Okay. What can be inferred? What conclusions can we draw about giving a player limited ways to defend themselves? Ooh, this is a good question. It can make the player feel more powerful because they still have a chance to win. Ooh, that could be it. Okay, but that's not it. Okay, I don't think that's it. It can increase fear because the player's safety feels uncertain even when defense is possible. Ooh, that sounds like it could be it too. It usually makes the game unfair because the player has no meaningful choices. And I don't remember reading any of this in this passage, so I'm going to rule this one out. Okay. And then we have D, it reduces tension because the player knows exactly how to survive each encounter. And no, that cannot be inferred. So I'm left with these two choices here. And I'm going to go with answer choice B, okay? Which can be inferred about giving a player limited ways to defend themselves. So I'm going to look in the passage here. And then we just quickly read over it. And it says here, this kind of fear is psychological because it does not come only from what is shown on the screen. It comes from what the player know. Limited weapons, slow movement, narrow spaces, and unclear sounds all work together to create uncertainty. Even when the player has some way to defend themselves, the defense may feel weak, temporary, or risky. That imbalance makes every encounter feel dangerous. All right. So there you go. There you have it. This part right here. We could make an inference, we could draw a conclusion about giving a player limited ways to defend themselves. And that is B. Okay. There you have it. Next question. What is the author's primary purpose in the passage? Okay, this one's actually really good because this is, again, a full summary, but we're actually trying to find why they wrote this whole thing. Why did I write this? Why did I write this? I wonder why. Maybe you should check out my other videos. I don't know. Or just stick around for this one, though. We got one more question. This is the last question. What is the author's primary purpose in the passage? To argue that jump scares are the most effective part of horror games? No, that's definitely not it. Okay. To explain how helplessness can make horror games psychologically frightening? I think that's it right there. This just sounds like it. Okay. To compare the graphics of older horror games with modern horror games? No, we mentioned that briefly over here. Okay. And that's not it. That's not the author's primary purpose. To persuade players to avoid horror games with limited weapons and slow movement? No, that wasn't either. They used this point right here to boost, as a supporting detail in the passage for the primary purpose. And this is the primary purpose right here, to explain how helplessness can make horror games psychologically frightening. And it's all here in the meat of the paragraph. Okay? Answer choice B is correct. I have the answer choice. I have the answer key. So there you have it, guys. That is the sample practice test with 10 math questions and 3 reading comprehension questions. This is a good starting point for you. If you are struggling on a topic, there are other videos, continuing education videos for you to click on and to go over, as well as the full-length algebra and functions practice test for you to go over once you feel confident with all these topics. Okay.